Stocks drift down with the market breadth seeing a negative tilt. FMCG, financials and healthcare are the big drags while metals and realty stocks gain. Blackstone has inked a deal to pick up just under 10% stake in Federal Bank through a preferential issue of warrants worth close to 6,200 crore rupees. The private equity giant will also get to nominate one non-executive director. The deal takes the tally of foreign investments in India's financial sector in 2025 to $7.5 billion. A collapse in a Dominican Republic mine pushes copper prices higher. A shutdown of Alcoa's refinery in Australia boosts aluminum to a 3-year high. And bottlenecks in Japan and Kazakhstan smelters lifts the prices of zinc to over $3,000 a ton. The Defence Acquisition Committee clears proposals worth close to 79,000 crore rupees for the Army, Navy and the Air Force, spelling big business for a lot of these companies. The stocks move higher as well. And Cipla has inked a pact with Eli Lilly to sell its popular weight loss drug Mounjaro in India under the brand name Urpeak. While Eli Lilly will continue to sell Mounjaro in India, Cipla will help it penetrate deeper into the market. Good afternoon. You're with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Hormuz Fatakia. And after all the Diwali-related fireworks in this truncated week, the markets are taking a bit of a breather. That breather had begun in the second half of yesterday's trading session itself, and that continues going into the final trading day of the week as well. The Nifty currently fighting to hold that 25,800 mark, made an intraday low of 25,783, and it's finding support from those levels. Saw a bit of a rebound just a few minutes earlier. That rebound is now being sold into. So still above that 25,800 mark is the index. What's leading it lower are the banks. The Nifty Bank now almost 700 to 800 points below the record highs of well over 58,500 that the index has made. At the lowest point of the day now is the Nifty Bank, 360 points down there as well. It had opened higher, but then has seen consistent profit booking from higher levels. What is doing well, though, in today's session are the metal stocks. And all of those aluminum, zinc, copper, take a metal and any related proxy is doing well for itself. Vedanta has crossed the mark of 500 for the first time in 2025, and also its peers such as Nalco, Hindalco, all of them doing fairly well for themselves, gains of between 3 to 4% in today's trading session. And among the we are counting down to earnings. We're counting down to earnings from Dr. Reddy's later this evening. We are counting down to earnings from SBI Cards. And of course, we are counting down to earnings from SBI Life Insurance as well. And just before we move on, pull up Kotak Bank. Kotak Bank too was at the lowest point of the day on last check, reporting results tomorrow. Keep an eye out on Kotak Bank as well. Since we are on the subject of financials, Blackstone's 9.9% stake acquisition in Federal Bank marks yet another big investment in the Indian financial sector after RBL, Yes Bank and IDFC First Bank. Gaurav is here with more details on this.
When we look at the financials, it's actually raining capital is what we can say, because in the Indian financial sector is seeing a massive foreign inflow of over 65,700 crores. Now, that's worth $7.5 billion, and this is in this year itself. Now, it seems the wave of money isn't slowing down anytime soon, because the latest headline, the deal that we saw, is Federal Bank and Blackstone. Now, Blackstone is set to invest around 6,200 crores for 10% stake in the Federal Bank, and this will be through preferential issue of convertible warrants at a price of around 227 rupees per share. Remember, the conversion will also make Blackstone the largest shareholder of the bank, and it's not the latest. When we look at the series of other high-profile bets that we have seen in the year, let's also not forget about the recent amount of money that we have seen flowing in RBL Bank. Now, on 18th of October, Emirates NBD, now that announced a plan to invest up to 26,800 crores. Now, this is around $3 billion for 60% 50% stake in RBL Bank. Now again, this is through the preferential equity at a price of 280 rupees per share, and this is actually the largest foreign direct investment that India's financial service sector has ever seen, and this will also make Emirates NBD the promoter of the bank. And this is not just going in the banks, but it is also the trend seeing in NBFCs as well. Sanman Capital, for an instance, when we look at the deal earlier this month, Abu Dhabi's ICICI, that they committed around 8,850 crores for as much as 41% stake in the company, and at the same time this will also trigger the open offer for mandatory 26%. Now this is the biggest capital infusion seen by any investor in NBFC, and at the same time with this, IHC is also set to become the promoter of Sanman Capital. Meanwhile, secondary markets, they did not fall behind. When we look at these markets, they are also reshaping the ownership pattern, because when we look at Yes Bank, we recently saw Japan's Sumitomo Mitsui. Now that is increasing its stake almost to 24.2% after an addition of around 16,300 crores investment through open market in September. Now that will make SMBC as the largest single foreign shareholder in Yes Bank, but it will not be marked as promoter. But at the same time, private equity firms, they are taking their bets, because let's not forget about IDFC Bank as well. Warburg Pincus invested around 4,876 crores in IDFC First Bank, and at the same time we also saw ADI infusing another 2,600 crores for about 5.1% stake in IDFC First Bank. So whether it's banks, NBFCs, the message is very clear. Global investors, now they're betting big on India's financial story. And the stock price, when we look at the stock price movement also, they are not disappointing. In fact, when we look at the sum of the stock prices, for the last 6 months, RBL Bank, they have delivered around 60% of the returns for investors. We also have IDFC First Bank, Sanman Capital delivering more than 30% return to the investor. Now the question is this just a smart capital chasing growth, or the beginning of structural re-rating for India's entire financial sector? Well, whatever the answer is, it is definitely that the investments are telling one thing for sure. Sentiments around Indian financial sectors, they are becoming strong, not by just foreign investors, but also by the domestic investors, by the way that we have seen flows going in banks as well as NBFCs in this year so far.
Gaurav, thank you for that update. Now, earlier we spoke to Dinesh Khara, the former chairman of SBI, and Prateek Shah of EY India for their insights on these slew of foreign investments into Indian banks and what it means for the sector. Listen in.
The recent one, which is Federal Bank, Blackstone taking stake in Federal Bank to the extent of 10%. So I think Blackstone has been there in the country for quite some time. They were into the financial sector, into various other entities, and it was a good opportunity. And the reason why they are all picking up stake in the mid-sized bank is that first, the growth opportunity among the mid-sized bank is significantly higher. And also with the improved capital, their ability to undertake risk also goes up. And also, to my mind, there's an excellent opportunity in the SME space, which perhaps the mid-sized banks would like to really tap now. Because earlier they were all focusing on the unsecured retail lending. But to my mind, the decent opportunity into SME will probably be very, very promising business area for the mid-sized banks.
For Indian banks, this inflow is not merely about balance sheet expansion. It is about access to long-term patient capital that can fund credit growth, really help with technology modernization for a lot of these institutions, bring product diversification, especially at a time when domestic mobilization, has been a challenge. And obviously, the various investors, depending on whether it is a private equity or strategic investors, especially the strategic investors like ENBD and SMBC for that matter, will bring in a very different take in terms of risk management, digital capabilities, product expertise.
Now shifting focus to the other pocket that's doing well today, and that is the metal stocks. And aluminum prices have breached the $28.50 per ton mark. Nigel is here to tell us more on this. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Aluminium stocks, they're flying away in today's trading session. We here at CNBC TV18 had made this point before market open that there's possibly going to be the sector of the day. Let's tell you why. Couple of reasons. One is LME aluminium prices. They're breached at $2,850 per ton, which is a 52-week high. The stocks that have direct exposure, Hindalco's India business, Nalco, they have alumina, but they also have aluminium in their business. And Vedanta, the largest constituent of their SOTP, comes in from the aluminium business. And once it's demerged, that will unlock significant value. What are the reasons? Tight demand-supply dynamics are playing out. In fact, there's a smelter in Iceland that's been put on supply, put out of supply temporarily, and that was close to around 100,000 tons. Short point is, demand seems to be strong, and supply, well, there seems to be various headwinds on that front. Besides that, later this month, we are likely to see some monetary easing. The Fed is expected to cut rates. When the Fed cuts rates, it's normally good for base metal prices as well. And inventory levels as well globally have been moving down. So that's why LME aluminium prices are holding with strong gains. The other reason that's impacting Novelis in particular and Hindalco in turn is Alcoa ended up by more than 10% overnight. And their CEO made a very, very important point. He said that the current prices, the Midwest premia, fully cover the tariff impact. Now, this will be a positive read-through for Hindalco's Novelis because remember, the big fear was they're going to be importing some part of their raw material from Canada, and that's what will hit the profitability. But if the LME prices are moving up and the Midwest premium have moved from around $500 per ton to around $1,500 per ton, that will spell good times and that could nullify the negative impact of the higher tariffs. So put all this together, aluminum is shining bright in today's trading session. Back to you, Hormas.
Shining bright indeed, Nigel. Thank you for that. And the metal stocks doing well for themselves in today's session. Now, the other one, of course, witnessing some profit booking on the back of news flow is Cipla. And signed a deal with Eli Lilly to distribute and promote the weight loss drug Trizeptide in India. And Ekta is now joining in with more on this. Ekta.
Well, yes, an important development which has come in for Cipla because Eli Lilly and Cipla have signed an agreement for Tirzepatide in India. Now, to put it into perspective, Tirzepatide is basically Mounjaro. That is how the drug is branded by Eli Lilly and sold globally, as well as launched in India earlier this year. Now, this agreement is basically for distribution and promotion of Tirzepatide in India. And Cipla will be marketing this drug under a second brand name, which is called Urpeak. What this will do is that it will enable access across the country beyond cities where Eli Lilly is already present with Mounjaro. So the deal includes the fact that Lilly will be manufacturing and supplying Urpeak to Cipla, and the price will be same as Mounjaro. So what Cipla will be doing is that they will be using their distribution strategy and allowing more access to Mounjaro, or rather Urpeak, in areas that Eli Lilly cannot access easily. Now, in terms of what the analysts are assuming, it could possibly add around 3% to Cipla's domestic revenue and around 1.5% in terms of EBITDA in the next 3 odd years. The GLP market itself is extremely large for the Indian market, or it could be growing to around $1 billion in terms of size over the next 4 years, and hence it is a lucrative market to be in. Also, Cipla has tied up this deal, which is expected to be an innovative deal, early on, right before semaglutide, which is basically Ozempic, Novo Nordisk's drug, which is a GLP-1 drug and competitor to Mounjaro, will be going off patent in January. So this basically comes ahead of that and possibly will allow Cipla to gain some amount of market share when it comes to Urpeak or Mounjaro, as it is branded by Eli Lilly. Also remember that Mounjaro has been gaining a lot in terms of market share in India. It's risen to be one of the top drugs in the Indian market. It's generated sales of over 200 odd crores since it has been launched.
Over 3% lower, Cipla witnessing profit booking after the news announcement coming in. Ekta, thank you for that update. Now, the other pocket in focus has been defence, and that is after a nod for capital acquisition proposals worth over 79,000 crore rupees for the Army, Navy and the Air Force. Upasana is here with some of the key beneficiaries of this. Upasana.
Well, DAC clears procurement proposals worth 79,000 crores, taking the year-to-date total for this financial year to as high as 2.5 lakh crores. Now, let us look at what are the key beneficiaries according to Elara Securities on the back of this. Indian Army, NAG missile systems, Bharat Dynamics will be in focus on the back of this, and the order estimate here by the brokerage is 2,000 crores. Next up is ground-based mobile system. BEL is the key beneficiary here. Coming to Indian Navy, landing platform docks, various shipbuilders such as Cochin Shipyard, MDL, GRSE will be in focus on the back of this, and the order size estimate here is as high as 60,000 crores. Now next, moving up to naval surface gun, BHEL and SC are the key beneficiaries here. Advanced lightweight torpedoes, Bharat Dynamics with an order size estimate of nearly 500 to 1000 crores. And lastly, coming to electro-optical infrared search and even track systems. On this counter, BEL will be the key beneficiary. So all in all, we'll be watching out for all these counters on the back of these key beneficiaries.
Upasana, thank you for that update. Take a short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal says that India and the United States are making progress in negotiations for a proposed trade agreement, and he hopes that the deal will materialize in the near future. Listen in.
We are in dialogue with the United States of America. Our teams are engaged. We recently had the Commerce Secretary visit the US, and he met with his counterparts. We continue to engage with them, and talks are progressing. We hope to work towards a fair and equitable agreement in the near future.
Now, sources say that the government's high-level panel has proposed a series of measures to ease compliance and unlock credit for the MSMEs. Shivani is here to tell us more on this. Shivani.
Well, yes, India's MSME sector could soon get a major regulatory boost. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that micro, small and medium enterprises may see sweeping compliance relief aimed at reducing cost and unlocking credit. Now, key proposals made by the high-level central panel under Rajiv Gauba, the Niti Aayog member and ex-cabinet secretary, include expanding the credit guarantee scheme to cover medium enterprises, giving them easier access to collateral-free loans. And also, the first-time compliance lapses by small businesses could now attract warnings instead of penalties, while penalty interest on delayed tax payments can be reduced to ease cash flow pressures. In another proposal, the panel has suggested to cut regulatory burdens. It's been suggested that mandatory CSR obligations for MSMEs be scrapped and the audit exemption threshold be raised to 1 crore rupees in turnover per year. If implemented, these changes could simplify operations for India's 6.5 crore MSMEs, boost formalization and free up resources for growth, a step experts say could give small businesses the breathing room they need to expand and thrive. Back to you.
Shivani, thank you for that update. And take a short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, in a sharp escalation of trade tensions, US President Donald Trump has ended trade talks with Canada following an Ontario government ad that used audio from former President Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs. Donald Trump has called the ad fraudulent and accused Canada of interfering with US affairs. He also defended his tariffs as vital to the American economy. Canadian leaders are yet to respond, but the move threatens to worsen the already tense trade relations between the two long-time allies. Now, the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China wrapped up its 4th plenary session in Beijing. CNBC's Elaine Yu joins in with the key details.
China's Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party has released the communique from its 4th plan, mapping out the next 5-year plan for China. And the top priority is technological strength and tech self-reliance, as well as advanced manufacturing, innovation, and industrial upgrading, also high quality growth. So these are very much continuing on and doubling down on the earlier goals goals of the previous 5-year plan. And this comes as no surprise given the geopolitical tensions around tech restrictions as well as sanctions from the West. And AI will be in focus for this next phase of China's tech-driven growth. Let's take a listen from the press conference on AI and China's plans around that.
Advance the Digital China initiative. We will develop an integrated digital market that is open, shared by all, and safe, and deepen the integration of real economy and digital economy. We will accelerate digital innovation in such fields as AI, ensure effective supply of computing resources, algorithm, and data. We will fully implement the AI Plus action to empower different sectors in an all-round manner.
What is also new and notable from the communique about the fourth plenum and the 5-year plan is a reference to tackling overcapacity. Now, they didn't use this word exactly, but they said China must maintain a, quote, reasonable proportion of manufacturing. And Chinese analysts say that this is calling for China to move beyond that subsidy-heavy, industrial-heavy playbook of expanding capacity. And Morgan Stanley said this is putting innovation over involution, and this is something we'll have to track how well it does in bringing that capacity down and boosting domestic demand instead.
Now, Piyush Pandey, the iconic Indian advertising legend, has passed away. Renowned for his creative genius and leadership, Pandey leaves an indelible mark on India's advertising landscape. As the executive chairman and creative director of Ogilvy India, he crafted some of the most memorable campaigns, inspiring generations of creatives. His legacy will continue to inspire and influence generations.
Are trying to communicate something, I better engage you. If I don't engage you, then I'm talking to a wall. And I try to engage people. I respect the receiver. Something that I get moisturized every time I see it. हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है कि कोई आजाद देशवासी यहीं पे रहता है. It's was written from here. So I think these are things that one would remember always.